At the time when St. Francis was living in the city of Gubbio, a large wolf appeared in the neighborhood. So terrible and so fierce that he not only devoured other animals, but made a prey of men also. And since he often approached the town, all the people were in great alarm, and used to go about armed as if going to battle. Notwithstanding these precautions, if any of the inhabitants ever met him alone, he was sure to be devoured, as all defense was useless. And, through fear of the wolf, they dared not go beyond the city walls. St. Francis, feeling great compassion for the people of Gubbio, resolved to go and meet the wolf, though all advised him not to do so. Making the sign of the Holy Cross, and putting all his confidence in God, he went forth from the city, taking his brethren with him. But these fearing to go any further, St. Francis bent his steps alone toward the spot where the wolf was known to be, while many people followed at a distance and witnessed the miracle. The wolf, seeing all this multitude, ran toward St. Francis with his jaws wide open. As he approached, the saint, making the sign of the cross, cried out, "Come hither, brother wolf. I command thee, in the name of Christ, neither to harm me nor anybody else." Marvelous to tell, no sooner had St. Francis made the sign of the cross than the terrible wolf, closing his jaws, stopped running, and coming up to St. Francis, lay down at his feet as meekly as a lamb. And the saint thus addressed him, "Brother wolf, thou hast done much evil in this land, destroying and killing the creatures of God without his permission. Yea, not animals only hast thou destroyed, but thou hast even dared to devour men, made after the image of God. For which thing thou art worthy of being hanged like a robber and a murderer. All men cry out against thee, the dogs pursue thee, and all the inhabitants of this city are thy enemies. But I will make peace between them and thee, O brother wolf. Is so be thou no more offend them, and they shall forgive thee all thy past offenses, and neither men nor dogs shall pursue thee any more." Having listened to these words, the wolf bowed his head, and, by the movements of his body, his tail and his eyes, made signs that he agreed to what St. Francis said. On this St. Francis added, "As thou art willing to make this peace, I promise thee that thou shalt be fed every day by the inhabitants of this land so long as thou shalt live among them. Thou shalt no longer suffer hunger, as it is hunger which has made thee do so much evil. But if I obtain all this for thee, thou must promise on thy side never again to attack any animal or any human being. Dost thou make this promise?" Then the wolf, bowing his head, made a sign that he consented. Said St. Francis again, "Brother wolf, wilt thou pledge thy faith that I may trust to this thy promise?" And putting out his hand, he received the pledge of the wolf. For the latter lifted up his paw and placed it familiarly in the hand of St. Francis, giving him thereby the only pledge which was in his power. Then said St. Francis, addressing him again, "Brother wolf, I command thee, in the name of Christ, to follow me immediately, without hesitation or doubting, that we may go together to ratify this peace which we have concluded in the name of God." And the wolf, obeying him, walked by his side as meekly as a lamb, to the great astonishment of all the people. Now, the news of this most wonderful miracle spreading quickly through the town, all the inhabitants, both men and women, small and great, young and old, flocked to the marketplace to see St. Francis and the wolf. All the people being assembled, the saint got up to preach, saying, amongst other things, how for our sins God permits such calamities, and how much greater and more dangerous are the flames of hell, which last forever, than the rage of a wolf, which can kill the body only, and how much we ought to dread the jaws of hell. The jaws of so small an animal as a wolf can make a whole city tremble through fear. The sermon being ended, St. Francis added these words, "Listen, my brethren. The wolf who is here before you has promised and pledged his faith that he consents to make peace with you all, and no more to offend you in aught, and you must promise to give him each day his necessary food. To which, if you consent, I promise in his name that he will most faithfully observe the compact." Then all the people promised with one voice to feed the wolf to the end of his days. And St. Francis, addressing the latter, said again, "And thou, brother wolf, dost thou promise to keep the compact, and never again to offend either man or beast or any other creature?" And the wolf knelt down, bowing his head, and, by the motions of his tail and of his ears, endeavored to show that he was willing, so far as was in his power, to hold to the compact. Then St. Francis continued, "Brother Wolf, as thou gavest me a pledge of this thy promise when we were outside the town, so now I will that thou renew it in the sight of all this people, and assure me that I have done well to promise in thy name." And the wolf, lifting up his paw, placed it in the hand of St. Francis. Now this event caused great joy in all the people, and a great devotion towards St. Francis, both because of the novelty of the miracle, and because of the peace which had been concluded with the wolf. And they lifted up their voices to heaven, praising and blessing God, who had sent them St. Francis, through whose merits they had been delivered from such a savage beast. The wolf lived 2 years at Gubbio. He went familiarly from door to door without harming anyone, and all the people received him courteously, feeding him with great pleasure, and no dog barked at him as he went about. At last, after 2 years, he died of old age, and the people of Gubbio mourned his loss greatly. For when they saw him going about so gently amongst them all, he reminded them of the virtue and sanctity of St. Francis.